Okay, hello. Today is March 11th, 2022, and we'll talk about an interesting Japanese architect, Makoto Sei Watanabe, or Watanabe. I don't know very well how to pronounce his name, maybe Watanabe. Let's see some of his works. I do not show all his works. This is truly an introduction to his work. So Makoto Sei Watanabe was born in 1952. Is a Japanese architect living in Tokyo. He designed such buildings as Japan's Kei Museum, has lectured at universities around Japan, and won many awards for his designs. He is the author of the Induction Cities, published in 2002. Makoto Sei Watanabe was born in Yokohama, Japan. He studied architecture at the Yokohama National University and graduated in 1976. He worked under Arata Isozaki in Tokyo until starting his own firm, the Makoto Sei Watanabe Architectural Office, in 1984. Watanabe's designs are characterized by a modern approach, using computers and mathematical algorithms to generate his styles. He writes about this type of style. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this word style, but that's what I took from Wikipedia. In the Induction Cities, published in 2002. He is also the subject of Makoto Sei Watanabe, Conceiving the City, published by Larca Edizioni in 1999. Most recently, he published a book in 2009 titled Algorithmic Design, which further explores his computerized method of designing structures. I'll show some drawings, but these are not typical drawings. I mean, they are digital drawings. They are not just drawings. He, on his website, he describes them or titles them as being drawings. But you'll see they are, I don't know, they are kind of, studies, renderings, this sort of thing that he does digitally. Rather modeling. But it's true, this kind of vision, if we are to call it so, is not concerned with functions and so on. It's just, an expressive visualization through digital means. You see, 2020. He has many published on his website. Here I only show some, more recent ones from 2020. He explores chaos. He explores, in a way, the unreason, the possible unreason behind the creative process in architecture. The functionalist, of course, would be very irritated by what we look at here, but this man knows how to build. He built and builds. So, maybe the functionalist should think twice. I personally think such exercises are not necessarily bad at all, because they explore new kinds of architecture, they explore emotions in architecture, they visualize, visions that without a high degree of freedom cannot be explored or externalized. Now, I don't know if these are done with algorithms. It's possible. This man is very into algorithmic creativity in architecture. Now we begin with an early work from 1990, an excellent work, Aoyama Technical College from 1999, so from 32 years ago. A challenge for the organic in urban space. And here it is, he won a competition. This is a drawing from the competition entry. He actually built it. Another, a detail of the built work. And yes, it is very much Japanese. It's very technical. It's very techno. It's very tech. It's very colorful and visceral and crazy, if I am to use a non-academic word. You know, he built it. In Japan, it's possible. You know, the Japanese build anything. I read the text that he wrote. I don't know if I have here a fragment or two relating to this building. He mentions the lack of centrality in urbanism in Tokyo, and he mentions Europe before the arrival of the Renaissance, when there was spontaneity in the act of building. And he said that he wanted to bring back some of that spontaneity. So in a way, it has this aspect of ad hoc architecture. Now, he had predecessors, you know, there were Japanese architects from the metabolists onwards, Kikutake, for example, or Kazuo Shinohara. So it's not, you know, a singular architect, but in our time, this kind of heroic viscerality is not so common any longer, even in Japan. I like this building. You know, it's cultural, it's engaging, it's enticing, it's provocative, it's cultural, it's artistic, it's everything. It's technical as well. You know, of course, for a domestic, so-called down-to-earth practitioner, this seems crazy. I mean, what is this? You know, is this a building? It's a machinery. Yes, it is a machinery, but we live in a highly technologized time. And, you know, I know that it's like a paradox that on Silicon Valley, most techno stars, they actually live in very traditional houses with sloping roofs, with verandas, and so on. Anyway, again, Japan is breaking new ground. Japan is continuously experimenting, trying new things, and I admire this for them. I admire them for this. You know, I think we can learn. We can learn. You know, this country has the largest number of Pritzker winners in the world. And you wonder, what is it about the Japanese that make them so, you know, enticing, provocative in the field of architecture? I think it's on one hand, yes, the seriousness and the hard work. They are very hard working people, but they're also experimental. They enjoy themselves. They create new things. And I will read here a text where you'll see that Watanabe is searching for a new urbanism, is searching for a new architecture. But the truth is, his early works, like this one, and I'll show another one, are more spectacular than some of the newer ones, in my opinion. So let's read what he said. The power of architecture restored. The Aoyama Technical College building is also intended to restore the fundamental strengths that buildings ought to have. Ancient structures, from the pyramids to the great cathedrals, possess this awesome power of large spaces. Most of modern architecture, it seems to me, has lost this basic power. Architecture ought to be something capable of moving people's hearts and giving them a physical thrill in a way possible in no other art. That power deserves to be restored. Another purpose of this building is to assure that anyone who might see it experiences, both mentally and physically, a definitive feeling of excitement. Now, you know, these are the words, the thoughts of an idealist. You know, he wants to bring back that emotion, that excitement of great architecture, which is innovative, which is colorful, which is engaging, which is dramatic even. And it's true, many architects forget this. Many architects forget to create an architecture that is not megalomaniacal, but an architecture which has the power to move one's heart first and then one's brain second. Now, the K Museum from 1996, also an interesting building, rather cryptical. And, this man is in fact, looking at some of his works, I thought of the very early works of Zaha Hadid, especially her graphic works, her renderings for the peak project with which he won that competition in Hong Kong. And look at this building, it's a building, it's not a rendering. He built it like this. It's built with matter, with material, but it looks so abstract, it's like a spaceship. You cannot build a spaceship with a traditional or traditionalist state of mind. You just can't. In my opinion, he is a very courageous architect, pushing the limits. We had deconstructivists, we had all kinds of, exotic architectures, but this architect is, especially, some of his buildings are so, I don't know how to describe them. On one hand, they are slick, they are not raw, they are not earthy, they are very abstract and polished, but they are, they're very sculptural and artsy, interesting works. And yes, he works with, high technology, with algorithms, with, everything that we still ignore here now. Like, for example, here on the left, these are artworks. This is an artwork, an environmental artwork, if I am to call it so, that is conceived by him in conjunction with the building. So he thinks about creating an environment that is engaging and provocative through the fact that it's unusual. This is an unusual architecture. This is a rendering, but between the rendering and the built work is a very short distance. Look, this is the rendering, and this is the building as built. They almost look identical. No, the point of view is different, but it is this otherness of Mr. Watanabe that attracts me. It's an architecture that it's very unusual. It's clear that he was interested in expressing, in expression, the architectural expression. And he found a way to do so. Of course, built impeccably, because the Japanese can do it. Maybe not too many people on this earth can do it, but they can do it. And you wonder why. They are humans like us. But how come they can build so perfectly? They build anything perfectly. I think it's a remarkable building. And if I look at it and, I would wonder, what is this? What is its function? Let me visit it. Let me enter it. The only recognizable thing are these steps here, this stair. Otherwise, everything is, a puzzle, an enigma. Look at this. Now, this is, a museum, but I think it's a very, very innovative museum. and inside as well. You know, these are images from the inside. Now, truly, these Japanese are, maybe because of the exceptionalism of their island, that is the most eastwards, you know, a piece of land the Earth has, and the sun rises there. Yes, we can talk about an exceptionalism in the case of the Japanese. They are different. It's obvious. Look at their architecture. This is like a spaceship. You know, this could be very well on the moon or Mars or who knows where. It's on Earth, built by this man, Watanabe. And it is not built, was not built in the future, it was built now. It is built now, in the present. In a way, he is even more radical than, let's say, Frank Gehry or certain works by Zaha Hadid and so on. As I said at the beginning, I am still in the process of assimilating and digesting information about him. I'm still learning about him. This is just an introduction into the work of this, I would say, remarkable architect. Algorithmic design, induction design, the Tokyo House, 2006. He also built one in Shanghai, in China. I only showed the one in Tokyo. Things decided, things not decided. So I like this duality, that he lives just like Fujimoto, you know, between function and no function. Here, things are decided, but things are not decided. And let me read a little bit about how this house came into being. You see, out, in, out, in, out, 2 interiors and 3 exteriors. One day, on the introduction of a friend, an elderly, quietly elegant woman appeared in my office. She said, "Please make me a place to die." That was a surprise. She continued, "Please make a house that can be cut in half after I died, for my 2 sons and their families." This would not be so surprising if it were a commission for a grave. Architects do design graves from time to time, but this was a request for a house. A house is a place to live. What kind of a house would have death as its primary requirement? I thought for a while. Finally, I realized that the request was actually, "Please make me a place to live better through the rest of my life." A place to live, a place to enjoy life. That was my commission. The requirement was not death, but vibrant life. Now, I don't know if it's so vibrant, to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't see the building in person. I only saw it published on the web. It doesn't, to my sensibility and to my you know, state of mind, this it doesn't quite look like a house. You know, as even if I'm expecting something very special, I still find, if someone would tell me this is the lobby or the entrance into a hotel or something, or some kind of a public building, I would have said sure, but it's a private house. It's a private house, a house where, again, like in the previous building, the only, you know, architectural thing that I recognize is the stair. Well, and the column, yes, but here, yes, the windows, but there is no furniture, there is nothing of the domestic paraphernalia. We'll arrive at the concept, the so-called concept. He tried, it was about the tension between out and in. You know, like, for example, Stephen Hall talked about the X of in. The X meaning from the exterior and in from the interior. Here he worked with the out and in. In essence, if I understood correctly, he wanted to make a house which would be modifiable whenever the clients or the inhabitants would want to do so. And he created a certain frame within which they would be able to modify the house from within. This is not so new. I mean, there were such buildings built where the architect provided means to move walls or whatever. But I will show some conceptual drawings that he did. I guess these are the two parts of the house, in and out. And I didn't study, and I should have, but I had no time to study more carefully what factually he actually did. You see the plans of the apartments within the house, one belonging to the lady and the other belonging to her two sons. And I guess this intermediate space is the space of change, of manipulating the space in relation with the specific needs or desires of the inhabitants. Let's see if we compare this with this, out, in, out. He was continuously working with the dichotomy between in and out. And in an abstract way, but again, this is not so new. What is new, perhaps, is the stubbornness, both philosophical and in terms of design, to arrive at some kind of a validity, to legitimize the building in the spirit of what he wanted to do. He wanted to create a house that is not, the house of death, but the house of life. But I'm not sure. I mean, from what I read, I'm not sure he interpreted correctly what that lady told her, or he didn't express himself. I don't know. But I'm thinking of Heraclitus, the great pre-Socratic philosopher, who said, "What we call life is actually death." That's what Heraclitus thought. So who knows? Maybe, in the dialectics between life and death, yes, maybe sometimes we can call life death and we can call death life. Anyway, here we have another pair of a dichotomical pair, in and out, interior and exterior. And he's not the only architect working like this, but I think he is more complex somehow, because you see he has various divisions within the intermediate space, out, in, out. So we see twice the word in and 3 times the word out. I don't know. I mean, I let you decide. You look at the conceptual thing. This is the actual working drawing, the plan of the house. Again, the Japanese are very, very astute in expressing sophisticated philosophical concepts within their building. They very often, they are not happy just with the plans of a house, but they are very, very interested in grounding their building into a conceptual framework that is solid, valid, legitimate. In essence, it's a square plot of land, and but rather large if we consider how precious is every square centimeter in Tokyo. This surprised me, because when I saw these images, I still don't think this looks like a house. First of all, there is no furniture at all. It just is. Maybe he took these pictures intentionally before the people moved in, before they brought with them, because even if it's Japan, even if they are Japanese, they do have some furniture, for God's sake. This, if I look at this image, I wouldn't say this is a home, a house. No, but the carcass of the building is sophisticated. You look at the ceiling, it's not flat. And not just the ceiling. the more so-called quiet or easily readable architectural elements are, besides the stair, the columns. But otherwise, well, okay, maybe here is the kitchen, maybe, but it's very abstract. I don't know what's going on here. It's also true that the nature of the photographs makes the reading of the space and the reading of the house rather difficult. Again, in and out, I have to study this. But here, look at this picture. What are we looking at here? Again, the only thing that I recognize, architecturally speaking, are the steps of the stair. Otherwise, I'm confused. The architectonic intelligence of the Japanese is very special. They work in a very abstract way, and it seems they can do it. They build things like this, and he's not the only one doing it. Now here I'm beginning to see a little bit of building, the open space in the center. I see windows. I see the duality of the house, which was programmatic from the very beginning, because the lady asked for a side of the house. That's what she said after her death. The building to allow for being cut in half. I don't know what this is, but I like the image very much. I think this is he created a special wall with waves that was manufactured in a factory on not on site, like you see in this picture. Those people are probably construction workers that manufactured this very sophisticated wall. This is, you see, each piece is different. This is different from this. This is different from this. This is truly a creation, and this is just a covering of a steel structure beneath. But that's what you see in the house. I guess this image shows reflections on the surface. Again, this man is very computerized. He works with algorithms. He works with scripting and programming. He created something like this, which if it was done with manual means, it would not have worked. Or look here, again, another, I don't know where this is inside the building, but I like what I see. It's mysterious, it's complex. It's, how do you do this? You see, this was built not on the site. This was built in a factory, in some kind of atelier. But it's what I admire immensely of these people is the experimental nature of their work. The work is an adventure. It's bringing, breaking new ground, discovering things, even crazy things, if we are to use again the word crazy. But this makes practicing architecture beautiful and exciting. And we read he wants to make an exciting architecture. I'm not saying that the images within and out that we saw, for my taste, they are not so exciting. But what I look at here is exciting. Now, who knows how the building might look like when it is inhabited and all the rest. And look at this piece here. It's a wrinkled carcass of, I don't know what's happening inside this black box, or it looks like black. But look at the wrinkles of the walls. Why did he make them like this? Could walls be wrinkled? I think they could, yes. These are, and you are going to see the facade, the elevation of the building, which I think is remarkable. It's remarkable exactly because it's unexpected. It looks different. It's uncommon. He used these panels to separate, and I think they are movable, to create various organizations of the interior space, depending on the needs or whims of the inhabitants. Look how the building looks like from the outside. I think it's very interesting. It's unusual. It's mysterious. It does look to an extent like a house, but did we see such a house before? To me, this is a much more interesting architecture than, let's say, the architecture of Lacaton and Vassar, because that one is more common. You know, it doesn't surprise me. This one, although it is rectangular, it uses rectangularity, it's still, you know, strikingly new. It's simple, it's not complicated, but the ornamental part of the walls, you know, it's done in a way which says we are in the 21st century, as opposed to this fragment of a building on the right, which could have been in the 20th century or even 19th century, but not this building. This building is the 21st century. It uses technology, it uses algorithms, it uses mathematical strategies, it uses scripting, programming. It belongs to our time in the present. And I admire it for it, you know. And here it is, the Tokyo house, because the Japanese, even when they are at their most innovative, they are still rooted in their traditions. So the Tokyo house, sliding paper doors called Fusuma, sliding glass screens, out, in, out, in, out. So I guess, sliding those doors, you create different configurations of the inner space of the house. And on the right, we see the traditional Japanese rooms, tatami mats room and symbolic tokonoma. I don't know what tokonoma is, but again, I think they can be so experimental, and they are so experimental, and they are not superficially so, exactly because they are rooted deeply, not superficially, not just formally, in the traditions of their own culture. So here we see the traditional Japanese rooms with tatami mats room and the symbolic tokonoma. I regret I don't know what that is. Although by the way, you can, if you are, your curiosity is stirred up, you can go to his website and you can read more. He writes quite a lot about each project that he shows there. Interesting, you know, I mean, again, we remember the words of Michelangelo, pittura è una cosa mentale. Painting is a mental thing. The same architecture. That's why baby architects like so much the word concept. This is a mental architecture, you know, it's not just form, it's not just, about the visual, it's also about the thinking. And this is very typical for Japanese architecture. Look at the building looks, at night. It's different, very different from the previous two buildings that we saw. And this shows that this architect is continuously experimenting. Yes, it's an opulent house. It's a large house in Tokyo. To have such a large space is not at all common. But it's a good building. It's a good building, even if, like me now, I don't know enough about it, and I still have to study it further. Now, what the designer did and what the residents decide, because we remember at first it was about things decided and things undecided. It's about the same duality. And let's see what he wrote. The residents report that they enjoyed the opportunity to create spatial variations, opening and shutting different glass screens on different days. They say they never grow tired of the play of light and shadow on the ceilings according to the time of day and the season. In that sense, this house has more than one plan, In that way, the residents decide what the house will be at any particular time. Well, you know, with his own words, he said kind of what I think I understood from the very beginning. It's a house which allows for a certain amount of flexibility, and it has a part which doesn't move, and it has other parts that move. But in his case, it's also about connecting with what this scheme shows it, you know, where except that, and actually to me, maybe it would have been even more interesting if the paper doors called fusuma, we see them here in the traditional Japanese house, were not replaced with sliding glass screens. I'm not sure that a paper door can be sufficiently well replaced by a glass door. I don't know, but I understand he wanted to create something in the present inspired by the past. And also inspired by his idea to create a house that the inhabitants enjoy by modifying its anatomy and its physiology through moving panels and so on. This was done in the past. Maybe it is the correct strategy. Maybe, you know, between this house and what he made, maybe it's not such a long distance, except that he worked with the contemporary materials. Okay, so what the designer, he writes actually a lot about each project, and he writes in a very clear way. So if you go to his website, you can learn about each project. He's not cryptical in the way he describes his works. So what the designer did, meaning him, the architect, was to provide a number of plans in a single work of architecture and to implant vibration devices that would generate waves at various locations within it. Now, I don't know exactly what he means by generating waves. Under the influence of changes in light and perspective, waves on the static stone ripple and move. If the residents can select different plans from time to time and feel that those times and those illuminations are beautiful, while surrendering to the gentle rocking of the waves, then perhaps the designer would have fulfilled the client's requirements. Now, it's possible that those walls with waves that we looked at, I mean, I don't know. I seem to understand here that there is some kind of a vibration in the wall, but I don't know if he uses the word in a metaphorical way or in a factual way. I have to double check on this. But again, we are dealing with an abstract architect, with an architect who thinks in a different way than most of us do when we do a building. You know, and maybe we can learn something from these Japanese. Let's move to a next project, and maybe the next one, the last one, I'm not sure. Yes, it's a train station from 2004. He built 2 or 3 train stations. I'll just show one. So, like in the previous house, he was dealing with the opposite, with this pair. In, out, closed but open. So let's read what he said. He said, architecture is normally closed in by walls. It's true. It is entered through doors. It's true. But a railway station has no doors. Trains roll through it on the platform level. The interior continues out to the exterior. Well, you know, the main facade of the railway station does have doors, but it's true. You know, that's the other side through which trains enter the train station does not have doors. So trains roll through it on the platform level. The interior continues out to the exterior. Nevertheless, it is not a completely open space. Platforms need to provide protection from rain, wind, and sunshine, and to prevent noise from escaping outside as the trains pass through. Railway stations seem to be open, but are actually closed. They seem to be closed, but are actually open. Beautiful. I like these two phrases. Let's read them again. Railway stations seem to be open, but are actually closed. They seem to be closed, but are actually open. They are special spaces, unlike the closed package of normal architecture. This work attempts to clarify the spatial character of a railway station space. And this is the railway station, believe it or not. Well, this is, you know, if you, it's a big railway station. It's not what we normally visualize in our imagination about a railway station, but he built it. And it's like this. This is amazing, this architect. He has very abstract visions, very abstract conceptualization of what the program should become as a building. But from so-called concept and factualization in physical terms is no distance, it's not a big distance. We look at the model and we look at this is a model. And then we look at the building and it's almost identical, you know. And again, it's absolutely amazing that the Japanese build the most fantastic visions, you know. If you saw this image and you didn't know it was a railway station in Japan, you know, you would have asked yourself, what is this? You know, I don't think you would have easily arrived at the conclusion it's a railway station. Gone are the common windows, gone are the common doors. Now, maybe these parts that he assembles the building from make you think a little bit of long trains with, you know, many wagons, or the platforms, you know. But I say this because I know it's already a railway station, you know. I don't know, is this a photograph of the interior of the railway station, or is it just a graphic, a digital, you know, image that he created? I don't know, but it's very much in the spirit of the building that he built. Look, this is the building. I don't know if it's during the construction or not. Really, this man, and he's not the only one, but this man is rejuvenating architecture. You know, I think it's very, very important to break the cliches, to break the known, and to bring in the unknown. And he does it. You know, I mean, look at this. This is a photograph. It's not a model. It's not a rendering. It's a photograph of the railway station. Now, yes, it is photographed at this angle, you know, so this creates an additional difficulty to comprehend it. But this is the railway station that he built. You know, SciArc, when they say to hell with regulations, we are searching for the unknown. Well, this man is doing the same thing. He's searching for the unknown. His buildings are the result of his search for the unknown, not for the known, but for the unknown. And he does it in his own way with this project. In the interior, yes, it begins to look like a railway station. It's true, but it's still interesting, you know, because he has this idea. I read some of his texts, not enough, but I read some of his texts, and he seems to be against centrality and to advocate what apparently Tokyo has, a certain kind of confusing disorder, but things function very well. and a lack of centrality, which is actually uplifting to someone like, let's say, Bernard Tschumi, who said that he likes Tokyo but doesn't like Paris, because in Paris all the boulevards are converging towards l'Arc de Triomphe. It's a very kind of centralized kind of urbanism. Here we have something the opposite. You know, there is the periphery, there is the decentralizing of architecture. And he expresses this through these, you know, long elements of light or opaque, or, you know, he's decentralizing. But the building still has unity, it still has coherence as one piece, but one piece made of many pieces. In other words, there is variation in unity, multiplicity in unity. And even in the case of a bench he designed, is the same conceptualization. You know, it's made of, you know, various pieces of wood, everyone crafted very carefully. Of course, this was done even in older times, even in banal benches. But he created something, you know, each piece of wood is crafted as you see it, and there are different sizes. And yes, it's a bench, it's just a bench, but it's in the spirit of the whole building. Now, yes, you wonder a little bit, why did he take, because I took these pictures from his website, and you know, you know, whoever photographed it, I'm sure was instructed by the architect to take the pictures slanted, as you can see. Maybe if it was not slanted, maybe it would not have looked so, you know, dynamic or interesting or whatever. I don't know. But from the outside, again, it looks like a spaceship, not like a railway station. And it is a railway station. Interesting work still. This one is also an interesting work by Mr. Watanabe. And now we see, you know, people all ages staring at they are very sophisticated, these Japanese. We must confess, we must say it, you know, they are technologically very advanced, they are philosophically very advanced, they operate with, you know, seriousness when they build, that even when they are very playful. So, you know, this is a building, it's a utilitarian structure, you know, it's a railway station, but it transcends utilitarianism and it becomes architecture with meanings of a certain complexity. I think we are approaching the end. This might be the last image of the, and you see, in essence, is the, you know, yes, it's a, you know, in short, a summary. It's a summary of the building, that you have these horizontal surfaces, these slabs that maybe approximate, you know, the railways, and they assemble together, they create the whole railway station. And I end this really insufficient and imperfect presentation with this text from him. Architecture as state, instead of being a large box enveloped by a continuous skin, this architecture is a collection of independent unit pieces. The whole is composed of many simple pieces operating to a certain extent according to their own rules in such a way that given conditions are fulfilled. The intent was to generate architecture as state. Although in this case computer programs were not involved, this way of thinking is related to the induction design method, in which solutions to given conditions are found through self-generation. These last two words are very symptomatic and important for him. Self-generation. You know, this architect continuously in his writing and in his buildings and in his artworks seems to advocate if I understood correctly, somehow something similar to what Deleuze and Guattari advocated in their philosophy of the rhizomic culture. Self-generating, meaning not imposed from the outside, not hierarchical, not hierarchical. This is not a pyramidal structure, hierarchical. This is a different kind of structure, self-generating. And I like this very much, this self-generating aspect of it. It's like, it's not imposed from the outside. You know, it's like, it's not that large box that he talks about at the beginning, enveloped by a continuous scheme. It's something born from within out and self-generating from those, yes, geometrical parts that we saw them in the finalized work. I think this architect deserves further study, and I think we can learn from someone like him. We can learn to do architecture in different ways than the ways that are familiar to us. So, thank you.